Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you will please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Loving God, you have created us in your image to live in community, to serve one another. Guide the decisions of this council to reflect that understanding of who we are and what it means to live in this community. This we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Keeling, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Here. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Louis Tonsmeyer, Ward 3.
Here.
Lindsay McDaniel, Ward 4.
Here.
Diane Tate, Ward 5. Here. Lori Pruitt, Ward 6.
Here.
Hail, hail, the gang's all here. We've got first order of business to approve the council meeting minutes of our July 2nd meeting. Council, you've had these well in advance of this evening, and Councilman Tate, I know that you have a change, at least one change to the minutes that you noted with me earlier. So can you please share that?
Yes, sir, and I've already talked with Ms. Keeling about it, but we did have just a different number on the public hearing for zoning. It takes a minute. I think it was about fireworks. Anyway, the vote was 3-1?
It's technically 4-1 because I voted.
4-1. Mr. Tonsmeyer did vote positively.
Reluctantly.
You were the negative one, right?
I was the only,
This time.
I was the negative one. Anyway, we just want to make sure that that's noted in your.
Thank you.
minutes.
Any other additions or corrections or edits that are needed? And if there are none, a motion would be in order.
Didn't see any other additions or corrections. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We have got the second reading of our revision of the pawn shop ordinance coming up first. So Chief Culpepper, if you'll get us started with that, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second reading of the modification of the pawn shop ordinance. And as you recall, this comes on the heels of the reporting system that you approved a month or so ago to get records so that we can track stolen property. We were waiting for this ordinance to be finalized so that we could mail that with a letter of compliance to all the affected businesses, and we will include a copy of this ordinance with them so they will be up to date. So there have been no changes that I'm aware of in this ordinance.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? If there are none, a motion's in order.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We do have the next two items on the agenda are going to be removed. They both need further consideration or additional information as required by council, so we will move to item D2, if you're keeping a scorebook at home. And Mr. Wilson, if you'll get us started with that item.
It's Mr. Mayor, Council. Before you is a contract agreement with Georgia Department of Transportation regarding our LMIG grant this year. Our funding level is $178,025.11. We will be required to do a 30% match with our 2003 SPLOST. With this money, we're planning on resurfacing 6 city streets as long as proposals come in okay. And this is a budgeted item, and we are recommending, Public Works is recommending approval of this contract agreement.
Questions for Wade on this item? And if not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the mowing contract. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We have a cemetery mowing contract with Full Circle Contracting and Management here in Cartersville. And we're in the third year of this contract. It can be renewed up to 4 times, so for a total of 5 years. And there is a stipulation in the contract that the contractor can request a 5% increase, and he has done that. This is the first time he's done that, and he said it was due to the increase in cost of labor. The current contract is for $3,200 per mowing, and a 5% increase would go to $33.60. And we recommend approval.
Okay. Questions or
Still
discussion?
cheaper than we could equip the staff to do.
Yes, the cemetery is about 46 acres. It has about 12,600 burials, so that there's a lot of headstones and a lot of weed eating. And it takes, they bring in a big crew, and it takes several days to do it once. And yeah, we just don't have the staffing level to do that. We do have a grounds crew, but they are busy working on Main Street Gateway, City Hall. They have a total of about, I think it's 25 or 26. We recently sent you a list of all the facilities that they maintain. So, so yeah, we really need these guys. They do a good job, and yeah, we definitely recommend approval.
I remember a few years back, it's been many years maybe, that, remember we bid this out, we saved some significant money, and then a gentleman came back and said, I can't do it for that. We went to the second lowest bid, so I
That's
still
cor-
think this is below what we were paying 5-6 years ago.
That's correct. We had somebody come in and really bid low. Tidwell Lawn Care used to have the contract, and then when we rebid it, another firm was the low bidder, and they come in and mowed it one time, and they said, "No way, we want out." And,
I remember that because it was about 30 days later, we came back and went with the second lowest bid.
And the second lowest was Full Circle.
Yep.
And I believe we first Full Circle completed a term, and then we rebid it. So this is the actually second time that Full Circle has been the low bidder.
Say 1,200, is that what you said?
3,200.
No, the number of, you went to the number of burials?
Burials, it's 12,600.
12,000?
Yeah.
Wow. A lot of people up there.
A lot. It's the only property you'll never pay taxes on.
All right.
That was a good one. Motion to approve.
Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tommy. Mr. Anderson, you are next. Chief Carter, you're on deck, rather.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. This is an agreement with Floyd County Prison that they now furnish 3 work crews to the city. Public Works has 2, Parks and Rec has 1. This is for another one for Parks and Rec for 6 months instead of a full year. They'll be going April through September. The same amount. This is $31,148. I recommend approval of this. It's a budgeted item.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Chief Carter, you've got the annual update for our software.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I bring before you the annual maintenance update for our Firehouse Software Solutions. This is the software program that we use for all of our incident reporting and also the record management systems within the department. This is a budgeted item, and the total was $6,850 for the annual contract, which is the same price of last fiscal year. There was no increase. We respectfully request approval to renew this contract in the amount of $6,850.
Okay. Any questions for Chief on this?
Mayor, just one.
Okay.
Chief, how does this software integrate with, like, the Bartow County Fire Department? Do you have any problems with city, Bartow County Fire?
This
Sheriff?
particular piece of software does not integrate direct with Bartow County. Those are not bridged. This particular software, though, does allow us to directly export to the U.S. Fire Administration and also the Georgia State Fire Marshal's Office for all the incident reports that we have. And this is hopefully the last year we'll be coming for you with the Firehouse software, because we're currently establishing and setting up for the new world systems and solutions that will take over Firehouse. When we get to that particular point, then the CAD system, computer-aided dispatch systems, record management systems between Bartow Fire, Cartersville Fire, hydrants, citywide count, then we're all linked together, even the law enforcement EMS components. So this is the final year that we'll be dealing with Firehouse and that individual. We're finally going to be able to make it to that next tier because of the projects that we've been able to do.
And the New World piece will come through, and I think probably where you're going with it is the communication part. That's the thing that's so critical, the ability to be able to, that the word is interoperability, to be able to talk across jurisdictions. That's
On the computer and software side, yes, you're correct on that. For example, our firefighters, while they're en route to a call, they'll have a screen in front of them live. They'll be able to see what the dispatchers are typing in. They can also see the city trucks and the county trucks rolling on the call. And what you're referring to is the 700, 800 radio system of the interoperability, and that's the radio piece that's coming in with it.
So, any other discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Porter.
Yes, Mayor, this is a renewal of our city web filter at $4,398 and a virtual private networks at $3,499. This is, again, our annual maintenance we have with Barracuda. Recommend approval.
Any discussion? Not a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Jones.
Good evening, everyone. I think you're all painfully aware of our issues with the screw pumps at the wastewater plant, so I won't go into what they do and all that. On 6/18, essentially, we came in here and asked your approval for a purchase of a repair part for the same problem that we have. That is the incorrect part. This is the correct part, and it requires your approval because not only is it a different part from a different company, but it's over $5,000 as well. This part will be $8,024. It's coming from Schreiber LLC, and I'm cautious about using absolutes, but it almost has to be the right part because there's only 2 companies that make these. So we feel confident this time. Would ask your approval of that purchase.
Okay. And you had mentioned in the work session that the one that we ordered last time can be used as a backup for one of the other screw
Wanted to
pumps,
make
so.
you aware that our intent is to follow through with that purchase. I mean, we have the option of not doing that, but we would love to have that part on the shelf, ready to go should we need it in the future. We feel like that's a wise investment on our part and have the funds to do it.
Okay. Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Dan, you're back up for one more.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a renewal of our life and accidental death and disability and our regular short and long-term disability programs through Prudential Insurance. The life insurance that the city pays for is going to be a 26% rate increase from the last time. It was a 2-year renewal, going from 30 cents per thousand to 37.8 cents per thousand. And the optional life insurance coverages employees have to elect on their own, there's about a 15% increase, and it's tiered based on your age bracket and all. This is, again, through Prudential Insurance. I recommend approval of this renewal.
Couple questions, and I guess I was asleep during the work session here. I wanted to ask you, that 26% rate increase is pretty high on a basic life. And that's completely paid by us, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how much? I mean, I know it doesn't look like a whole lot right here. It goes from 30 cents to 37.8 cents, but how much is that?
It's about 10,000, I think about 10,000 or so a year. It's not a large amount. It might be a little more than that.
Okay.
I've got to do calculations
And
on that.
I noticed that we have, the letter here for Peachtree Planning. Have they done anything in regards to, I know that it looks like this letter was sent to them in June and this is a July renewal. Are they going to market and see if there's something else out there?
They
for
are
us?
trying to market it now. They
Okay.
said they didn't have access to Prudential back in June, even with that letter, but they are supposed to be marketing it now. They actually are now the agent of record beginning in July 1.
Okay.
But they are trying to market the case now.
How much life insurance do we provide for each of the employees?
1.5 times their annual salary.
It's pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. We have the second go-round of our citizen survey results. Sam, take it away.
This is a citizen survey that we've done since '03. Every 2 years, there's a 95% confidence level in the results. go through a few of them for you. Economy, all the items that you see on here are similar to the national norm except for cost of living. And don't get confused, it doesn't mean the cost of living is higher, it means it's rated better here than it is in other locales. You've got overall economic condition, downtown, cost of living, and place to visit. The reason those only have one bar in them is because that's the first time we took a look at those. So as we go on in future years, there'll be other years to compare to it. Of course, the multicolored bars are all the different years and how those stacked up in each year that we asked the question. Next piece is recreation and wellness. These are all similar to the norm. Again, we had some new questions about health and wellness, mental health care, and fitness opportunities. So those are the first year that we got a rating on those. Next piece.
I'm sorry, I had a question about that previous one, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The mental health care, that was with the national norm. I know that number's at 48%, but that's typically where.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it's good that you mentioned that, because some of these numbers, if you look at them in absolute terms, they may look low or high. So we get compared to a national benchmark, and it'll give you a relative sense if that's good or bad. So while it's 48%, and that may look good in an absolute sense, relative sense, it's clicking right along with what other communities are seeing.
Okay, thank you.
Education and enrichment. Adult education rated the first time. These are all similar to the national norm except for child care and preschool, which is higher than the norm, no doubt, because my wife teaches pre-K. Next one, community engagement. These are all similar to the national norm. Again, first one rated first time, neighborliness. Okay, and the last piece is general governance. These give you relative sense about, not really the trust pieces, but the value of services for taxes paid, overall direction, community involvement. There are some new ones: confidence in government, acting in best interest of the city, being honest, treating residents fairly. These are all similar to national norms. So that's all we've got tonight.
Mayor, this is on our website.
Sure is.
Thank you. And we will conclude the financial report. Mr. Ron Hart. Sir.
Honorable Mayor and Council, we'll be looking at the May 2015 and comparing to May 2014. In the general fund, the revenues increased by $1.4 million, expenses increased by $1.1 million. This is largely due to increased personnel expenses and increased capital expenses. 3 areas of revenue we look at on a monthly basis. Local option sales tax, we have a slight increase there over last year of $89,000. Police fines and forfeitures, we have a decrease of $35,000, and building permits and inspection fees have an increase of roughly $150,000. The water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last year by $1.4 million. Expenses decreased by $3.1 million, and this is due largely to decrease in capital expenditures. And the gas fund, revenues decreased over last year by $1.3 million. Expenses decreased by $2.4 million. This decrease is due mainly to a decrease in cost of purchased gas and decreased capital expenditures. In the electric fund, revenues increased over last year by $3.1 million. Expenses increased by $1.4 million, and this is due to increased personnel expenses, increased cost of purchasing electricity, and increased capital expenses. In the stormwater fund, revenues increased over last year by $40,000. Expenses increased by $524,000. This is due to increased personnel, increased operating, and increased capital expenses. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last year by $30,000. Expenses increased by $11,000, and this is due mainly to decreased personnel expenses, coupled with increased operating expenses and increased capital expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $75,000, and expenses increased by $85,000, and this is due to increased personnel expenses, increased debt servicing expenses, and increased capital expenses.
Has all the Highway 20 money been, is it through on the water yet, or do we know?
I'm sorry.
The Highway 20 relocation stuff?
There is still a little bit to be paid in the month of June, and I believe it will flow over a little bit into the new fiscal year also.
Okay. Always being the bright source of light that I am, I'll point out to you that general fund was in deficit for last month, the electric fund was in deficit, and general storm and solid waste are for the year. That's through 11 months.
Well, Mayor, I'll be a bright star then.
I was
I
being
mean,
facetious.
I'm encouraged by the planning department, and our inspection and building permits are much more than double
Yes.
in just a year's time, so
good.
I think that's an indicator.
Absolutely. Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Thank you, Tom. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? There's none. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Bang.
So moved.
Plenty of runs out of that guy.
Good,